The UK continues to tease VPN restrictions, and we also see US adults actually in support of a lot of these social media bans, and these stories might seem unrelated. These are one and the same story, and it leads pretty much in the same place. I use a VPN every day, and I know many of you who watch our content do, and by the end of this video, I'll show you why 60% of people are cheering for something that has almost nothing to do with kids, and what I think we should actually do instead. To start with the real story, this came out yesterday from the UK, and Andy Burnham's team has confirmed that he is going to go ahead and they are doubling down on these under 16 social media bans. We saw this first in Australia. The overall concept is social media concepts are not good for children, and so we want children off of those platforms. Again, very reasonable sounding. I don't think anybody, if they heard that at first glance, says I'm against that. And that's why the details really matter here. And what the details are is that there's no real effective, safe way to actually make that situation happen in the way that people imagine. In Australia, it's barely working and people are getting around it, and so you kind of have two choices. One, you just stick your head in the sand and just pretend that it's working, or two, you continue to double down over and over and over. And that is sadly the UK's approach. Now, back in the day, Secretary Liz Kendall told the BBC that an update on VPN restrictions would be coming in July, which is this month. And they also said Andy is committed to keeping kids safe online and has been vocal in his support of age restrictions for kids using social media. And under that ban, new social media and VPN restrictions are being proposed. They say within hours of the ban being confirmed, the nation's teenagers appear to have been Googling how to get around it rather than disengaging from social media altogether. Now, they do come forward and say there aren't any government plans to ban them, but I think that's a very careful choice of words, because people might come forward and say, are you guys trying to ban VPNs? And the answer is no, but what they could do is, oh, we're going to age verify VPNs and we're going to add restrictions to who can get it, which has the same issue as social media bans. The reality is you can't stop a 15-year-old who is determined without checking everybody's ID. This doesn't just impact children, it impacts adults too. UK teens are already looking to get around these social media bans, and if the VPN ban comes next, then they're going to move to Tor, and then this is going to keep moving on, and every time we layer something new on, we're actually restricting people's access to valuable tools on the internet that actually gives them a safe, private, and secure experience. I know, it's a bit ironic, but that's how this works, and that's what these politicians are doing. A VPN and these tools let domestic abuse survivors or journalists or freedom fighters all around the world in repressive regimes actually fight and keep their traffic private. So I have serious concerns about this, because while this is a massive issue that needs to be addressed, instead of trying to address the issue at its core, we're now coming in and just trying to nuke the whole problem with all of these crazy things. And I think what really needs to be talked about here is the support for it. I think here on YouTube and people who are watching these videos, our audience, it's a bit of an echo chamber in the sense that a lot of you are probably against these things because you watch this content, or if you're new, hello, I hope that I can change your mind a little bit about these things. But the reality is 6 in 10 Americans support social media bans. And I would just take a step further and say 6 in 10 Americans actually support this very restrictive internet. A couple states, and we did coverage for this, already teased wanting to ban VPNs. Fortunately, they didn't get that far. But the more that we support this idea of we need to ban certain things online unless we start asking people to upload their ID and age gating things in this weird way, the more normalized it's going to be to start banning valuable tools that a lot of people take for granted. We already see gaming platforms get age-gated. We see Discord get age-gated. And ironically, that one led to a data breach of the people it was meant to protect, which is children. But here's the thing. I think why 56, and there's two ways of looking at this. The negative lens of looking at this is, oh my gosh, over half of Americans, 6 out of 10 about, support these things. But 23% are not sure. And I think it's not too unreasonable to start migrating that a bit in the other direction. But I think this is an education issue, because if I come to you right now and I say, do you support minors not being on social media, and would you support a ban of that? Most people would say yes. Even I would consider saying yes. But what that's not taking into consideration is what the downstream impacts of doing it in the way that these politicians are proposing really is. If I followed that up with saying, okay, so do you support uploading your ID to every social media platform as an adult to keep children safe? Do you really want to upload your ID to Facebook, the most untrustworthy company in pretty much, it feels like all of history at this point? Do you trust the governments to start restricting access to tools that are designed to offer people freedom, like Tor, like VPNs, like basic privacy tools that have always just been normal and a part of something that people can use on the internet. But now we're moving into this part of the internet where we want to pretty much try to tie everybody's web traffic to a centralized identity and make sure that they can only access certain things that they're allowed to access. And when we start gatekeeping the internet like this, it's no longer really an open internet. And it's worth asking, who controls the floodgates and who is controlling who gets access to what information? The same infrastructure that we're just talking about here for keeping kids off social media is the same exact infrastructure for an oppressive government trying to restrict people from accessing basic information about human rights. So I think it's important to ask these questions. So I think that the 60% here aren't wrong to want kids safe. I think most of us are all on the same page on that. They were just handed this idea or a vision that was built to look like action instead of actually being real action. And I think we need to aim that frustration at the people selling that, not the people who bought it. So I'm not upset at these 56% of people. I'm upset at the people convincing those 56% of people that this stuff makes sense. And a positive outlook on this, again, is that I don't think it's going to be hard to start migrating more and more of those people over. It takes about a few minutes of educating the people around you, each and every one of you. So I just think that the conversation right now is dominated by big tech companies and politicians who may or may not know what they're doing. And so we need to get more people in there right now talking about what the real downstream impacts of this are, because clearly we're not doing a good enough job quite yet. Now, my other fight to pick here is that none of these politicians, and I say this in all these videos now, will actually name what actually makes these platforms harmful in the first place. Not the engagement machine, not the design built to keep you hooked, not the incentives that reward the worst content that's the most extreme, that's designed to keep you on the platform as long as possible. These bans and these regulations don't touch any of that. All that they are doing is saying, oh, if you're under 16, don't access these platforms. But oh, you turn 17? Great. The world is your oyster. The platform is exactly as exploitive as it was yesterday. So that kid that you protected walks into the identical machine the day they turned 18, 17, wherever they set these bans, in whatever region you're in. I almost feel like in some ways it's more of a disservice to keep kids sheltered from these problems and then chuck them into the problems that we refuse to fix. We're trying to solve this technology problem with more technology and thinking that age verifying is going to fix it, but really we need to target the critical stuff that's hacking human biology. That's the real problem here and what these social media platforms have gotten so good at exploiting. So when they call this making platforms safer, I would be asking all of you, safer for who? Because the platforms aren't changing. The only thing that's changing is now you have to prove your age on the platform that's apparently bad and maybe give up your VPN to reach the same exact platform that was there in the first place. I don't think that's reform. I don't even think that's an improvement. I think it's just a costume and people wanting to look like they're doing something good without actually making a real change. I can get pretty frustrated in these, but I think it's really important for us not to just get angry, but send this to someone you know if you think the video resonates with them, or send the articles, send an audio message if you send those. Just help people around you understand. I really think this is an education gap. I don't think many people would actually support this if they understood what goes into it. I think that 60% can become 40%, one conversation at a time. You all can be a part of that. And if you want to support our content here, you can become a Techlorian. I have a private Signal group you can join, and it's a good way to support this content and keep us going and growing. And also, if you want a VPN, we have a Proton VPN affiliate link in the description. It's fully opt-in, no pressure. It's just a way that you can also support our content if you were looking at any VPNs and you stumbled on this video. See you all next time on Techlore.